All right, let's just get right into it. Is crypto this massive revolution that's going to reshape our entire financial world? Or is it just the biggest racket in history, like some critics are saying? Well, the truth is, the answer is kind of hidden in a pattern that most people just never see. And today, we're going to decode it. But before we even touch crypto, we have to start with a puzzle that probably feels really personal to a lot of you. Why does it feel like no matter how hard you work, you're just stuck? You're running in place. It's that feeling deep down that the whole game is rigged somehow. Well, it turns out there's actually a single number that explains almost all of it.
And this is it, negative 11%. Now hold on, this is not the inflation number you see on the news. No, this is the real hidden rate at which your money is losing its buying power every single year. It's a mix of that official inflation number and a much bigger, almost invisible force called currency debasement. That's just a fancy term for when governments print more money, which makes every single dollar you've saved worth less. This number, this is the key to the whole thing, and once you understand it, you get a serious unfair advantage.
So a number like negative 11%, where does that even come from? In this first part, we are going to pull back the curtain on the hidden mechanics of our financial system. We're going to look at the secret drain that makes that 11% loss a totally predictable, repeating pattern.
Okay, so here's the absolute core of the problem. The entire global financial system is drowning in debt. We're talking more than 400% of global GDP. It's a staggering amount. And to stop the whole thing from collapsing, central banks really only have one move. They constantly have to pump in more money. That's the engine of the currency debasement we just talked about, and it's a process that systematically, quietly devalues every dollar you have sitting in your bank account.
Now here's where it gets really crazy. This hidden drain basically cancels out the traditional ways of building wealth. So let's say you do everything right. You invest in the S&P 500 and you get that historic 11% average annual return. Sounds pretty good, right? Well, when you subtract the 11% your money is losing in real value, you're left with basically zero. You are quite literally running on a financial treadmill and going absolutely nowhere.
And this is where it gets real. You can see the real-world impact right here, especially for younger generations. I mean, just look at these numbers. A 30-year-old today is way less likely to own a home, be married, or have kids compared to someone their age back in the 80s. And this isn't some big cultural shift, you know? It's pure economics. They are trapped in a system where the finish line just keeps getting moved further and further away. So think about it. If your money is losing 11% of its value every year, and the stock market can barely keep up, what are you supposed to do? Well, this next section is all about the logical and, for a lot of people, the necessary response. It's about finding an escape hatch from that hidden drain. And for so many people, this is the big aha moment. I mean, just look at this chart. On one side, you've got your traditional assets, and they're barely treading water against that currency debasement. But on the other side, you have things like Bitcoin, which have averaged, get this, 145% annual growth since 2011. Now, of course, that comes with insane volatility and huge risk, but even with all the massive crashes, the long-term trend offers the kind of exponential growth you need to actually get off the treadmill. It's the only escape hatch in sight.
And this is a really important point to understand. This massive flood of people into crypto, it isn't just about greed or trying to get rich quick. For a whole generation that feels completely locked out of the old system, this isn't just a gamble. It feels like a necessity. It is a bet on a different kind of future because the current one doesn't seem to be working.
But here's the part that nobody really wants to talk about. While all these regular people are just looking for an escape, there is a much more sophisticated game being played right under the surface. This is the other side of the story. The hidden pattern that shows how insiders have built a machine that's perfectly designed to extract wealth from all that hope. And here is the playbook. It is shockingly simple. Venture capital firms, VCs, they pour billions into new crypto tokens when they're brand new, at huge discounts. Then they spend a fortune creating massive hype cycles, using celebrities and social media to pump up the price. And what's their goal? To liquidate, or let's be real, to dump their tokens onto everyday retail buyers within just a few months. And they can do it because it's a largely unregulated market. We've seen it again and again. Liquidation first, real-world utility maybe later.
And this is not a new thing, this is a repeating pattern. First, you had the ICO mania, these initial coin offerings. Think of them as unregulated IPOs with just blatant scams like something literally called Ponzi coin. Then came the whole NFT craze, which peaked with a $69 million art sale that was basically just a giant marketing stunt. And then you got the play-to-earn games like Axie Infinity, where people in developing countries had to buy super expensive NFTs just to play the game, only to see the whole economy of the game completely collapse.
So how do they keep new money coming in to feed this machine? Well, it's through some pretty brilliant social engineering. You see phrases like WGMI, which stands for We're All Gonna Make It, and HODL, Hold On for Dear Life. They create this really powerful sense of community, like you're all in it together. And then any valid criticism, any reasonable question, it's immediately shot down as FUD, fear, uncertainty, and doubt. It's basically applied psychology, all designed to keep the machine running for the insiders who got in early.
Okay, so on one hand, we have a system that is being totally exploited by insiders and it's fueled by all this hype. But is that the whole story? If the surface is all about hype and extraction, is there anything real underneath it all? Let's switch gears and focus on the core conflict here. Is there actually a legitimate tech revolution happening underneath all this noise?
To get the potential here, you have to understand this thing, the Byzantine generals problem. It sounds complicated, but it's basically a computer science puzzle that's been around for decades. It's all about how you get a group of people who don't trust each other to agree on a single truth. And blockchain is the first technology in history to actually solve it. It lets us create a verifiable, unchangeable source of truth without needing a middleman like a bank or a government. This is a genuine, fundamental breakthrough.
And while it's not grabbing the headlines, this breakthrough is quietly being used to solve some really big, expensive problems. For instance, major commodity trading firms are now putting every single shipment contract onto the blockchain to wipe out fraud. DocuSign uses it to create unchangeable records of legal agreements. I mean, think about what that means. For the first time ever, we can create true digital scarcity and verifiable ownership without trusting a third party. That is the real, non-speculative foundation that's being built in the background.
But here's the core tension. The whole promise of crypto was decentralization, right? A system owned by everyone. The reality though? Well, major exchanges like Coinbase are basically centralized bottlenecks. The mining of new coins is dominated by a few huge warehouse-sized operations, and the tokens themselves are often super concentrated, with insiders owning a huge chunk from day one. So this centralization kind of undermines the whole original idea.
So what do you do with all this? You've got a system with truly revolutionary potential, but it's also being used as this insider's extraction machine. So how do you possibly navigate that? Well, this last section is all about actionable intelligence. This is the payoff. This is your unfair advantage for understanding these hidden patterns.
Look, if this technology is really going to grow from a $2 trillion asset class to $100 trillion over the next decade, then you have exactly one job. Do not get wrecked. That's it. Don't use leverage. Don't pour your life savings into some meme coin hoping for a 1000x return. The smart move is to own a small slice of the high-quality infrastructure, the core stuff like Bitcoin or Ethereum, and just hold on. The goal here is survival, not to become a millionaire overnight.
And this brings us to the ultimate point, the real utility for an individual. You see, the money in your bank account, that's really just an IOU from the bank. But owning crypto with a private key, that's absolute ownership. It's the ability to secure your entire net worth with a simple phrase that only you control, completely safe from being seized or censored. And that is what we call financial sovereignty. For many people, that is the true revolution.
So, after all that, what's the takeaway? Are we watching the birth of a new decentralized layer of the internet that's going to empower everyone? Or is this whole thing just a super efficient new way to transfer wealth from the hopeful masses to a tiny group of insiders? The answer is, it's probably both, happening at the exact same time. And knowing that, well, that's what changes how you see everything.